Hi everyone. We're continuing with consequence. Let's have a look at how we have dealt with, or how we're currently dealing with consequence. And this consequence meaning how we have defined consequence as, something bad, something negative. And let's first have a look at within ourselves. So, when you're feeling down or feeling bad, and not feeling so cool, so great, for most part, we'll either stay in it for a while or we'll make ourselves feel better. And that making ourselves feel better, one will either deliberately start thinking about positive things or good things, or go into your imagination, trying to motivate yourself out of the bad, the negative that you've become in a moment. Or, you're having an uncomfortable experience that you can't really pinpoint or define, and it's like just moving inside you, and you're just not feeling up to anything, during the day. It's like you're low, almost depressed, very close to tears or crying. And then you see someone, or someone says something, or someone does something, and they make you smile or laugh, and you feel better. And it's interesting because all of this sounds innocent. That's how we live. Feel bad, you make yourself feel better. Or when you haven't felt so great during the day and someone does something nice, then you feel better. So what? That's kind of how we live. That's what emotions and feelings are. But within this, what is not seen is what is actually going on the subconscious, unconscious, quantum mind, and quantum physical levels of your consciousness. In that, this is what we've been doing with the bad, the negative. We've always gone to the opposite, the positive, the good, or trying to make ourselves feel better, trying to make things look better, trying to make things seem better than the reality of what is in fact really going on. Now, let's take a look at within our minds. So what do? We feel bad. There's a negativity going on in your thinking, your imaginations, your emotions, and then you just jump to the grass is greener on the other side, and one simply all of a sudden feel better, become more positive. There's positive energy or feelings happening. Your thinking change, your imaginations change, but what is not realized is you are jumping to the other side of the fence where the grass is apparently greener. However, on the side from which you jumped, the environment is still bad and negative. It's still there. It's not being tended to. And, then we're kind of walking in the greener pastures of our mind. And what's going to happen then? Then we change and transform that area or environment into the bad or the negative. And then we've got to jump fence again. And this is what we're doing in our minds. We are leaving our consequence behind. And it is interesting because what has to be realized in the dynamics of your mind is that just because you're jumping from a negative to the positive doesn't mean the negative has gone away. It's still very much there. We have just, in our relationship to consequence, over and over and over again, jumped the fence to the other side and have left behind our consequence, not dealing with it, not facing it, not understanding it. Going to the positive is essentially the easy way out. You just kind of quickly make yourself feel better. And for most part, we must have a look at how much we do this, within and throughout our day. How often, do we think ourselves into a bad or negative or emotional state? And then constantly and continuously, what happens is our attention is being diverted, and we for a moment feel good or feel positive, and the feelings are moving in our minds, and then we've completely forgotten about the state that we were in before. But you have to realize here that it's not a forgetting that's taking place. It's a suppression. It's a distraction. It's a diversion that is causing the fact of not remembering, of not paying attention, of not being aware. So we're actually, when we're going into the positive and the good and the feelings, in the jumping action from a negative to the positive, is how we're smoke screening our awareness, the reality of what's really going in our minds. I mean, you'll really, when you fine-tune your relationship to your mind, your consciousness, you'll find that relationship existing where you'll be in a negative or bad or emotional experience in your mind or your body, and it'll be a jump, it'll be a change, it'll be a shift that happens into the positive or good, and then it'll last for a moment or for a while, and you won't remember how you experienced yourself before, and then the whole pattern just replays again. And once the positive energy is depleted, you go back down into the negative, the emotional, and the bad, and you're in it for a while, and then you jump fence again into the grass is greener on the other side. Over and over and over again, not investigating or taking responsibility for finding out where the hell did these things come from in the first place? Why am I thinking them? Why am I experiencing myself this way? Where are these things coming from? Why are they existing in me? Why am I accepting and allowing them to exist in me? How are these things affecting my physical body? Why am I so quick to jump to the positive, the good, or feelings, or distractions, or diversions, and not stop for a moment and really look at this jump that's taking place here? And within this, an important point as well that one have to look at is, first and foremost, that, again, getting back to what I've mentioned in interviews and posts before, you say, well, what are you saying? That we're not allowed to feel, be emotional or experience our feelings. And this is not what we're saying. It's not about not doing it. A parent tends to instruct a child without explaining something to them. Obviously, you're going to react because you're not considering to understand why we're saying it and how we're saying it and what is the solution existent within and as it. So, as I've mentioned before, getting through your emotions and feelings, one will actually get into self-expression. And that I will include in giving perspective of as we continue with interview posts. But that is being walked in detail within the Atlantean interview series right now, walking you through all the emotions and feelings and what expressions will emerge through walking through them. But the main focus in this interview post is having a look at how we've dealt with consequence. This is what we've done. We have ignored it, suppressed it, denied it, and just immediately went to the quick fix positive because it feels good. But have you ever considered that maybe the good feels good because you've just come from a bad? Meaning, do we really know what good in itself feels like if where we come from in jumping that fence from the bad to the good, it's a comparative state that one go into, in that more of the good that you're experiencing is actually coming from the comparison of the bad that you had come from. So that kind of accelerates the experience of the good or the positive or the better. So even jumping the fence, you're still taking the bad or the negative or the dark or the uncomfortable experiences with you. It's there. That's just what makes the good feel extra good. And so, one can have a look at this relationship, because we're dragging consequence within ourselves with us all of the time. And the mind or consciousness is set up multidimensionally. So in other words, for example, where one will be in a negative or bad or dark or somber mood, and then something or someone will kind of get you out of it. But within that process, within that transfer, we're accumulating consequence within ourselves. And it might not seem that way, because you go into a suppression, a denial, and an ignorance every time you go into a positive or a good or a better feeling or experience, and you don't remember where you were before. And so every time you keep on doing that, you're kind of like a goldfish swimming inside the same bowl, thinking that every turn is a different moment, is a different environment, is a different seeing, or that relationship that exists, for example. We're exactly the same. We're like in our same minds, but we don't realize that what we're doing in this relationship between the negative and the positive, the consequence as the negative, in how every time we go into the positive, we go into a possession. We don't remember the previous moment. And then we kind of go into a new bad moment, and it seems like a new moment, but it's not. We've been there before. We're cycling in our minds over and over and over again, not realizing that we're reaching the same moments, the same points, the same experiences over and over and over again. And where does it lead us to eventually at the end of the life? Really nowhere. You should listen to the life reviews and the death experience interview series available on EQAFE. Where beings are sharing the shocking truth of what is left of them when they die. There's nothing left, because they were only existing in these energy dynamics between the positive and the negative, and with consciousness being dependent on the physical body for the energy to be able to exist, and all your information and memories of your mind being in energy, and your physical body dies. All of that is lost, becomes non-existent, and then only that little bit of something of your mind or consciousness that resonated into your beingness is what transfer into death. So, we have been taking our relationship with our mind or our consciousness and how it consists of and exists as energy for granted, in how much of yourself is dependent on energy, how little of yourself is really living, is really stable, is really here, is really constant and consistent. So within this, what has to be realized is that all of your consciousness, your mind information, now exist in in energy streams, in energy currents within your physical body. There's very little really of what is existent in your mind that is really you on a beingness physical level. So it's like, you have more a computer or a laptop, for example, and you've got all of the information stored on it. You won't be able to access all of the information if you don't have the power source. If you don't have the power source, you've lost everything. It's exactly the same with your mind-physical relationship. Your mind, your consciousness, and the information within it will all be lost if it doesn't have its power source, which is the physical body. And when the physical shuts down, the mind shuts down, all information is lost. So And all of that information now is attached to energy, which is your positive and negative energy of emotions and feelings. So therefore, our destiny, what we're walking as the process, is taking that information as words and transferring the data into the physical, into our beingness, into becoming the actual living of words, of information, of data, that it is with us in this life and in the year after, that it won't be lost in the separation that we're currently existing as the mind, being, spirit, and physical body trinity. So in this interview post, let's look at this first point then only now for the moment in relationship to consequence to take with you, because we're from this interview post in the next one going to have a look at how we dealt with consequence in the external reality. But obviously the question within this comes, have we ever dealt with consequence? No, we haven't. How we've dealt with it is through not dealing with it, but creating diversions and suppressions and denials and ignorance. When it's becoming more and more evident that consequence is still very much here within ourselves and this physical existence. It's like it's just become consequence, as I've said in previous interview posts. But why? Why isn't this positive jump to the other side where there's apparently greener grass? Why is that not making a difference to the nature of our minds, to humanity, this physical existence and life on earth? What are we missing in this relationship between the negative and the positive? As many in interviews as well on EQAFE have explained, and the positive only exists to make ourselves feel better. Because we haven't had the tools with which to deal with the negative, the real natures. But within this as well, what we're going to show you is the following. I think the mistake that we made is through judging our natures, our beingness, as being negative, meaning we attached a negative energy to it. And from there, we went, oh crap, the negative doesn't feel so good. I don't want to feel this way anymore. I want to feel better. And then we went into positive energy. Yay, I feel better. This is awesome. And in that, we didn't face the negative. We didn't face that which we judged as negative within negative energy. So, here, I'm going to show you how to look at your mind, not with a value judgment of negative or positive energy, but just to see it for what it is, the consequence of it, how it's affecting ourselves, our physicals and our living, and then to change it. So let's say one of the biggest mistakes we've made is placing an energy value of negative to our inherent nature or beingness, and then from there jump the polarity of the positive in the negative and positive energy, not facing the reality, not facing things as they are, seeing things for what they are. And that's also fucked with us in relation to this world system and humanity and human nature, seeing things for what it is and realizing, holy crap, it's not working. We must do something about this to get things sorted out. But now everyone's going into their minds, having energy experiences in relation to the fuck up that's become life on earth. And everyone's trying to balance the polarities of the positive and negative in their minds, and no one is dealing with reality. No one is dealing with things as they are, investigating, researching, and seeing and coming up with solutions. Because we're all like gone crazy in our minds in energy. Positive, negative, no, I don't want to be negative. Go positive, positive, positive. Oh my God, I'm negative again. Oh no, oh dear God, go positive, go positive. When there's really a lot more important things to do in this reality than jumping energy polarities. Okay, in the next post we're going to have a look more at external consequence and how we've essentially done exactly the same. And then get into solutions as our self-expression, as our living, and getting human beings to see reality for what it is, the consequence for what it is, and so we can really get in here and start sorting things out. Thank you very much.